Hey everyone, it's Becky Jost. Thank you for joining me on the Gorilla HR podcast. I'm excited today. We're going to be talking to Armah Shiancoe, and he is actually the executive director of Land United FC, as well as the co founder and chief growth officer of Flexie Inc. And I'm excited to have Armah come on today because in addition to those titles, when I met this guy, I really thought of him as a community invigorator, a community organizer, somebody who is really putting his like money where his mouth is and like walking the talk when it comes to creating strong positive communities, both from just a development and contributing to society, but also from the workspace. And so I'm excited to have him come on today and talk about some of the different programs that he's involved in and help kind of solve some of the issues that employers are constantly saying they face. So instead of me talking about it, let's go ahead and welcome Arma.
Hey, Becky.
Hi, thank you for coming on and chatting with me today.
Thank you for having me. I've been looking forward to this one.
Good, good, good. I hope it doesn't disappoint. I don't think it will.
I hope it doesn't either. I hope I at least meet the standard or at least the bar.
You will, you will. So before I get into my first questions, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about the work that you're doing with Flexi.
My focus area is youth development. My master's in talent and organization development, and I'm also certified as an executive coach. Been trained and certified in different areas of leadership development as well. And I've really focused my energy on just the youth populations because I don't believe that we're truly serving them in the ways that they need to be served in terms of being prepared for the things that we keep telling them is on the horizon and they got to look forward to. And they're like, but what does that mean? What does that look like? Right?
Yeah. And there's a huge disconnect.
Major disconnect. So for me, my background, I've also taught high school business, entrepreneurship, marketing, advertising classes, and
How long did you come? Was teaching your first professional career?
no,
No.
I was never the kid I even wanted to be a teacher. I didn't like school, you know?
Yeah.
So life just happens to play itself out in unique ways to where you go through experiences that then really wake you up and show you things that you didn't expect or want to even happen. And then you have opportunities to try certain things out. Teaching happened to be one of those things that I just always gravitated towards. And it just, once I heard I could teach business, that got me.
That's so funny because I keep it a secret, although I'm going to share it here today, that I actually started in education. I taught for 4 years. So my first professional job was in education and I was miserable. I was a horrible teacher. I hated it. I was so unhappy. And I think like in an ideal situation with like funding and reasonable classroom sizes and like kids who weren't coming to school hungry and like all the things. If you took away all of that, like then it could have been amazing, but it was not for me. I did not thrive. But fortunately, I did find my way into human resource very quickly after that. And there are so many skills that really are transferable skills that I take, from being an educator into working with workplaces. So, I mean, essentially, it's all the same thing of like setting performance expectations and coaching and training and helping people get to where they need to be. So, it's just that instead of it being kids, we're talking about workers. And of course, the motivation's a little bit different, but so many transferable skills. So,
You're absolutely right. It's about transferable skills. And those are the things that I'm really focused on in terms of how we help people and kids just understand that there are certain things that we can do that we can leverage in different scenarios.
yeah, I want to hear more about that because what I constantly hear from employers that I'm working with, whether they're clients or just people that I'm out networking with, or just because I tend to be this person that, like, if I'm getting my tire changed, I end up, talking to the owner for 45 minutes, whatever it is. So the things that I hear from all these different people is that Gen Z in particular, so like our 12 to 27-year-olds who are entering the workforce, whether they're high school or coming out of school, that they are just not prepared and they don't know how to be employees, and that the employers are disappointed. They bring these people in and then they fail. And like I have there are so many places I can pick this apart, but I want you to comment on it first.
And I think that's a good starting point because that's something that we're recognizing across the board. It's not just one employer, it's not just one type of company, it's not just one type of industry, right? These are things that we're seeing rampant across the board because we've brought ourselves to this place. We got ourselves here. And
Mhm.
we talk about the kids didn't come out asking to be how they are. We had a role to play in allowing for this to happen, right? So we have to be fair to the kids because the kids don't know what they don't know.
Yes.
And as a former teacher, educator, recruiter for colleges and universities, and also a recruiter for companies and corporations, we only know what we know in any regard, right?
Yeah.
So if we're not helping and developing them and preparing them so that they understand these things or have these types of experiences that can lend to helping them in these other areas and spaces, how dare we blame them for it?
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I've just recently recorded a previous episode, and I had somebody on who is in the process of getting ready to graduate from college and who's in that job seeking phase. And I've also done some work with one of the local universities and working with their career placement and getting in front of students and talking about this whole process. And so I hear from them that they're well aware that they have skills, but they also know there are a lot of areas they lack. And all of them are very open to coach me, train me, teach me. I know that I don't have all of the skills to be that person you need yet. So whether that's business etiquette or even culture that's specific to the organization, they want it. It's not that they're like, "Oh, I know everything and you're not going to teach me." No, it's not that they're coming in there wanting to fail. They just don't know.
Becky, thank you so much for just verbalizing that because everyone needs to hear that. And the thing is they are eager. I
Yes.
can say that with all sincerity. And this is all factual. I deal with many of them enough to know that they're eager, they're hungry, they're wanting it. They're looking for people like us who actually are willing to meet them where they are first.
Yes, and I love that. You have to meet them where they are. This is what I tell people when they're like, "I can't find people." Well, where are you looking for them? Well, I
Bingo.
posted something on LinkedIn. Well, that's why you're missing out because that is not where they're looking for you.
No. And we have to innovate in the ways that we connect with them and engage with them. We have and that's a segue even into Flexi because of the belief in what I just said. We have to transition. So Flexi is established and set up essentially to meet them where they are, right? They're all on their phones. They're all in their phones. So for us, it's about developing the platforms and the tools that are right there in the same phones, but they can be productive tools for them. So for example, for us, how do we now create an environment or an ecosystem where a young person can walk in? Because the first thing we tell them when they're looking for opportunities or they apply for our jobs, you don't have enough experience.
Yeah. So this is an entry level job, but I'd really like you to have 3 years of professional
Yeah,
experience.
that's
Right,
all.
right, right.
So that's barrier number one. They have barriers to entry in terms of even getting the experience. So what we're doing with Flexi is, hey, look, let's just create a platform that allows for them to pick up shifts, literally pick up shifts. Whether it's Chick-fil-A, who we've worked with, McDonald's, who we've worked with, different places that need people their ages and they're looking for these experiences anyway, and we allow for them to not only work these shifts so they can pick a day, the time frame that they're available and have availability to work. They can work that time frame and get paid in the same day should they choose based on how things are set up in that platform for them.
Okay, I'm loving this for so many different reasons. So, one, with the Gen Z folks, if they've got school or they have other jobs, and so this gives some flexibility into picking up shifts. But I also see this as being something that could really be amazing when we're thinking about the wage gap. Particularly related to gender, in the sense that we've moved backwards. I don't know if you know that, but we've moved backwards. And so women are earning 82 cents to the dollar compared to men. And that I have been on my high horse about that, so I won't go there. But what I think Flexi could do is for some of those people where we often have women who are staying at home in the caregiving duties, whether it's for children or parents, and it's not that they don't want to work or that they don't have hours, but maybe they can't do a full-time job, or maybe there are different obligations like in those caregiving. But something like this would really allow them to be able to work in a way that still fits with all the other demands of their life.
So hence the name Flexi because it's truly flexible. The future of work is flexible for everyone.
Yes.
That's where we're heading. And we're choosing to be an innovator and a pioneer in that space where we definitely see the opportunity. And it's only a matter of time before things transition in this way. But for us, it's about how do we now help a population and a demographic that really needs it because they need the experience. And for example, not only are they getting experience, they're also getting paid while learning and getting experience. But then it's also giving the companies the opportunity to now learn these young people based on, hey, are they a fit for my culture? Are they reliable? Are they dependable? Are they showing up? Because the days that they're picking Studies and our metrics are showing that they're happier when they show up to this place that they're working at. They're producing more, and the company is happier because not only are they getting their shift filled, they're also now being productive, and their revenues are going up because they're now solving a problem, which is somebody not being there.
Yeah, and I can see that also helping from a financial aspect for on the org side that they're not then dealing with the administration of like attendance and well, you were late or you weren't here and now I got to track that and now I'm punishing you versus a more positive of like, hey, this is what I've got available and I'm going to get people into it. And then if you needed to adjust, like if you had, and you can tell me whether it happens or not, but like, okay, we have something at night or maybe we have a graveyard shift. And if we know we need to pay a couple dollars more an hour for that, because we need to sweeten the pot there to get people to want those, you could do it like very easily.
And not only could you do it, should you get to the point where you're like, you know what, I really like this person. I want to now bring them on even part time and then even full time. Should I have those opportunities available? You now have great data to pull from with how you've interacted with each other.
Because so much I think in the workspace today is again those transferable skills, those things that you can take with you. So if you find somebody who has the right culture match, you see that they're dedicated, they're trainable, eager, on time, all of those good things, then that can transition and become somebody who then you develop into, a more, I don't know, more committed, full-time, whatever it is, type of role.
And that's what we call our flex to hire model.
Love it. Love it.
I love this.
I'm gonna
It's
tell
awesome.
everybody I know. Like, again, my mind is spinning. There's so many ways that that could be useful.
Absolutely. And that's the intent.
Or teachers in the summer? Like, oh my gosh.
So many populations of people, right?
Yes.
We'll talk offline, Becky.
Okay. I know, I'm already like, this is amazing. I love it. Okay, but I wanna come back because I wanna talk especially about, like, the getting people ready for work too. So one of the things you mentioned is just in, like, in meeting people where they are. So particularly for these younger generations who are, kinda new to the workforce, tell me more about how do we meet them where they are? What do employers need to be doing different?
Number one, focus on engagement versus even recruitment. That's first thing. My personal recommendation, based on my own personal observations and studies and research, and just interactions and listening to the demographic that's younger coming into the workforce or soon to overtake the workforce, first you have to engage them. If you're not engaging before you even attempt to recruit, you've lost the battle already.
One of the things I've seen is that there's really more desire for Gen Z is to have what I would describe as like purpose-driven work. So
Absolutely.
not even necessarily like, it doesn't even have to be earth shattering. Part of that purpose can be in like building the relationships and getting exposure and meeting new mentors and things like that. So it's not like that work has to be like, I'm going to, learn how to do open heart surgery on preemie babies or something like, but purpose driven in the sense of like, how can it be fulfilling to what I need right now?
I feel like I'm truly not only welcomed and wanted in this environment or even with these people that I'm now with, but there's things are reciprocal. Things are very reciprocal. I'm being embraced.
Yeah, people want to belong.
Right. And I feel like I have a little bit of ownership in the culture here. Right. I feel like what I say is heard.
I always say everybody wants to be needed and appreciated. So like whatever you're doing, there's always a way to do that. And that's the advice I give to the students too, is like if you go somewhere or a new grad, like even the person who's showing you like this is where we can get some coffee or this this is where you go to the bathroom, like thank that person. Let them know that you appreciate that you've taken the time to show them something. So I think it goes both ways in the sense that then in that engagement piece, it's letting people know that they are appreciated and that they're wanted there and that they belong there. Again, more so than just like, here's the application, let's click it through. That's transactional and that's a process. That's not a relationship.
And what you just said is also something that needs to be hit on even more because this younger demographic and generation, they're more relational than they are transactional. That's going to be the biggest challenge for a lot of these organizations.
One of the things that I hear from organizations is nobody wants to come to work anymore. Nobody wants to be in an office, and everybody thinks that they need to be remote. And I'll tell you that I want you to speak to it, but I also want to tell you something I just heard. I'm going to ask you to speak to that first. So the question is, employers tell me nobody wants to come be in person. What do you say to that?
People want flexibility. People want to have a sense of freedom. Flexibility allows for them to feel like they have a sense of freedom, which is why they're asking and even demanding this.
I think the flexibility is huge. I think you're right in the sense that people want well, with any engagement, people are looking for guiding leadership, but the autonomy to be able to execute and do what they can do well. And I think that for part of that, it is the relationship piece then ties in. So it might be in person. And what I just heard in another episode I was recording is that somebody was telling me that they are a generation that came out of COVID. And so they missed a lot of opportunities to be in person and to do some of those fun things. And so they're hoping that they can create that in their workspaces and that they want to do the happy hours and the intramural kickball and like, when the company does a 5K, that they're like, yeah, I'm looking for those relationships to come as part of my work experience because I missed out on it.
Think about that though. They're telling us this. The question is, are we listening to them?
No, clearly we're not, because I hear from a lot of people that they're like, "Nobody wants to do this. Those kids these days," you know?
My white paper topic for my master's program was talent management in a digital era. Because of this very topic, because I'm very fascinated with just the future of work in general. And part of my research really proves that it's the younger demographic and the younger generation that actually want to have the in-person connection and the in-person experience more than even the older folks, contrary to what people might think.
I think there's a lot of what we think, but we don't have the data to support it. And it turns out if we looked at the data, we'd find out we're wrong.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's talk about this then. I also hear that this generation, they are just so delicate and sensitive and that you can't coach them or mentor them or give them feedback because they're snowflakes. I hear this and I have so many thoughts about it, but I'd like to hear your thoughts. What do you think about that?
I think you have that in every generation. First, that's my first thought.
Okay.
It just shows up differently in different generations.
Okay. Tell me more.
You have, even in my generation, the people that we know and have experienced them being this way that we describe about kids now. And I promise you, if we were to talk to people that were older than us from the older generation, they have their own experiences with that too. That's my point there, right? But at the same time, what I will say is that they just operate differently. They're in a different world. What they're used to is completely different from even what you and I grew up with.
They have access to so much more information, just data, tools, resources,
Way more.
the content that is out there for them.
Everything is different. They have so much access to information that the problem is not the information. The problem is how you make the information practical.
I always say that there's a ton of information, but not knowledge. So it's like you can find bits and pieces, but do you know how to put it all together and make it make sense?
That's it. And I have nieces and young people in my life that are family members that are now in high school and graduating and going to college and all these things. And I have these conversations with them. One of my nieces, one of her papers, honors classes, was focused on why don't adults just work with us in helping us really learn how to use and find information using our gadgets and our tools that's tech based. We no longer have to memorize things because we can easily access them in seconds in terms of information. Her plea is that our roles need to be more so helping them understand and get better at not only finding the right information, but how to now apply and make practical that information.
For sure. I always think about like when I have had people in the HR space since that's been my professional career that I've had people that I'm like you don't have to know everything but you need enough knowledge that like it makes those senses tingle where you're like I don't think we can do that or I think we need to go look at the statute or regulation. Like you don't have to know every detail but you need to know enough to say we need to get more information here because I don't think what we're talking about is the right thing.
That's it.
I think it's interesting. I'm just sitting here kind of processing too what you were saying of it's really the same with every generation. So it's not so much that you're Gen X or Gen Z or a boomer. It's really that when you are at that place in your life, that's what you experienced. Because certainly when I was newer in the workforce, of course I was open to coaching and feedback and my performance review, but did it hurt? Did I go home and like have a counter argument for every single thing? Like, yes. Now did I come back and like throw it in their face and argue? No, that's not because that's not the way I was brought up to do it. But now if somebody said, "Could I give you some feedback?" I'd be like, "Yeah, what should I be doing different?" Like, because this can help me be better in my work and help me better serve the employers I work with. So, I think you're exactly right that it's not generational. It's really about where you are in your life.
because we all go through stages in life. We all evolve through life, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
We should be evolving through life. Let me say it that way.
I've seen some things on TV where I don't think people are evolving through life,
I've
but
seen many things
that's
too.
a whole separate
That's a whole
subject.
separate scary subject.
Yes.
But in terms of this younger population, they do want to be coached. They do want to be held accountable. They do want to be guided. They want all these things. They're asking for it. They want constructive criticism. But the key is not in what we say, it's how we say it.
Yeah, I think it's that people need to know that you're looking for them to improve. Like, because on the employer side, I would talk about performance development in the sense of we either manage up or we manage out. And ideally, you manage up in the sense that you correct the behavior and you get what you want, and then you don't harp over it, but you move on and like get back to normalcy and like making progress and moving forward versus the perception I think that like I'm coming after you because I'm just trying to create this paper trail because I want to fire you. So I think you're right in the sense that these younger people, they don't know and they know that and they're willing to be coached. But I think you're exactly right that it needs to come with that message of like, I'm trying to help you here. Like, because if you're successful, we're successful. Like if I'm constantly churning through every new hire I made, then that's on me because I'm obviously doing something wrong.
I'm giving you attention because I care. If I don't give you attention, that's when you should be worried,
Right.
right?
Right. Yeah.
They need to hear these things.
What do you think when you work with different youth and like you're really trying to get people ready because I know you've talked about like they're not served. What are the things that we can be doing in our communities, not just as employers, but just kind of where we are? Because I always say like I don't have kids, but I want to live in an educated society. Like I want all of the people coming after me to be successful and I want them to be knowledgeable and I want them to contribute to society. Like I want all those things for everybody. So what are the things that we should be doing to help better prepare all these kids?
Number one, find ways to get more involved in the things that the kids are doing. You don't have to force it. It doesn't have to be anything that's overly dramatic or anything. And what I mean, for example, we're fortunate because we have a youth soccer club, and I can say this because I see it all happen all the time. We have every level of the generations that are alive come out to watch their grandkids and their kids play. That's being engaged.
So if they're out there, be out there to watch them, be out there to support.
They're there to support. That's a level of engagement. That's one area in one way in which you can do it. And this doesn't have to be your own kid. It could be somebody in your neighborhood. We're fortunate to live in big neighborhoods with many people in our neighborhoods. The problem is that we don't really connect with each other much enough to know exactly what they're doing or what our kids are doing or anything like that. But some of our kids might actually be playing together in certain leagues and programs anyway.
Gosh, I have some neighbors and I know that they have kids, and if I saw them at the store, I wouldn't even recognize them. I know it's, like, horrible to say that, but you're exactly right. We're not engaging.
Right. So for us, we have a soccer club that shows us the other side of it, and we see people come out and they're having fun with each other and they're celebrating their little ones and supporting their little ones. We can also take that a step away from the soccer side of it and even the sports side of it, where we have these community events, whether we're picking up trash, whether we're planting trees at the elementary school, or any of those things that we do in the community, where now you have an entire family showing up. Where it's not just the one who plays the sport that we're all celebrating and watching, we're now all actually doing something together that's helping to make an impact in our own local community.
I love that. I know you and I are both, Rotarians, and so I know that, last year, the Rotary Club of Indian Land did a 5K, and it was held at the high school, and I loved it because I was out there walking in my, like, sad, slow jog, but all of these high school kids showed up, and they were cheering on the walkers and joggers, and I thought, like, that was awesome. Like, I thought that was so cool. And again, it's really just it there were a lot of things behind the scenes and that race was going to, some fundraising and things like that. But I just thought it was really cool to have the students out there that were, cheering on slow old me. So knowing how I felt, I can totally understand that they would want the same thing. Like
Absolutely.
whatever their thing is. So like whether it's theater, whether it's a sport, whatever the thing is, like show up and be supportive and let them know, hey, you've got a community that's rooting for you.
And they want to work with us in the things that are happening within the community. They want to come alongside us to actually do the things in the community that benefits all of us. They want to. They desperately want to. I know this for a fact.
What do you think is most important? Like, what do you think is the biggest motivator for all of these younger people that you're working with?
They want more out of life, contrary to popular belief. They know there's more for them. They just don't. They're looking for people that can serve as roadmaps and guides because they know that they're going to do something. Imagine being. Let's go back in our own minds, being their ages, where we have all of these ambitions and desires and wants, but we have no clue how to get there.
I feel that way now.
Think about
No,
that, right?
right. Yeah, like, there are times where I think, like, when do I feel like 'cause I'm serious, like, in the sense that sometimes I think, like, well, when I was younger, I thought, like, the grown-ups have it all together, like, they don't worry about things, they don't panic about things, like, the sound that goes bump in the night doesn't scare them, and, of course, now being a middle-aged adult, I'm like, "Oh, no," like, those things still happen, so I think we're just getting to the end here, but if I summarize kind of what we've talked about in the sense that when we tie the perspective of what the youth are seeking in their lives where they are now, and then as they move to being of working age and getting into professional careers, it's really comes back to what you just said in the sense that people are looking for somebody to help create that roadmap. And it doesn't have to be the most direct route. Maybe there are different stops and bumps and things along the way, but that for employers to be successful, it's understanding that we have to offer that coaching, we have to offer that development. We can have students who come in and they don't know everything or they're a recent grad, but it's on us as employers to say, "Let me help you. Let me guide you," and then let them go with it.
Or even the question might be, how may I guide you? How may I help you? And even though I'm saying it that way, the truth of the matter, they may not even have an answer when you ask them that. But what it does, it makes them think and feel and know that, oh, wow, I'm being asked for my thought and my opinion, which means it must matter here.
Let people know that you care about them
That's it.
and ask them what they need to be cared about and what success looks like for them.
That's it. Because it looks different for every single one of us, doesn't it?
And then back to your earlier point, then we have to listen. So let's ask the questions. Let's be intentional in making sure that people understand that they are cared for and make them feel that they belong. And then let's ask what they need and help them.
And then get out of their way.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of steps to this.
Just a few.
Just a few. Just a few. I feel like every time I talk to you, I feel really motivated. I know when I was describing you, I really just think of you as like a community promoter in a sense that, every time I see you, like you've got something that's like, here's what we're doing. We're going to make it better. And so I love hearing your perspective that like the kids today and people who are entering the workforce, they want more. They really do. And if we listen to them and give them what they need, they can get it. And we're all going to benefit from that.
We all do. The thing is, they're more qualified to actually create solutions nowadays that are innovative for us than we are.
Yeah, I'm about to get a jitterbug phone because I'm starting to have trouble figuring my phone out. Actually, I just got those, like, smart glasses, like, the Ray-Ban Meta glasses, and I had them on. I felt like I was like, "I am living in the future." Like
That's the world we're living in now.
but, like, for the people who are coming up today, like, that's not so bananas to them, and to your point, like, when we need solutions, let's go to these creative young minds. Love it. Well, Arma, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time today and just getting a different perspective, especially as you are so involved, again, with the youth in the community, but also with this amazing Flexie work model that I am so in love with. So thank you again so much. I really appreciate your insight and you taking some time to chat with me.
Becky, this has been amazing. I've enjoyed it, and I'm hoping that it can be of value to your listeners. And let me know how it can be of support in the future.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, thank you everybody for listening to the Gorilla HR podcast, and I hope you join us again soon.
That's it for this episode of the Gorilla HR podcast. We hope you found some unconventional wisdom and actionable advice to help you in your own HR journey. Remember, we're all working together to build better workplaces. Want to join in the conversation? Send us your questions, stories, and maybe even your own guerrilla tactics to podcast@guerrilla-hr.com. And if you enjoyed the show, please like, subscribe, and share with your network. Until next time.